It's like grayed out. It's not doing anything.
Welcome to the April 2021 Board of Recreation Parks meeting. Meeting's called to order. Welcome, everybody. First item is to review the minutes from our March meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those as written?
Motion.
I'll approve the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Won't do that.
Aye.
Minutes are approved as written. Thank you, Mr. Shepherd. All right, first order is new business. We have a, let me bring it up here. We have a park use permit for Friends of St. Clements Island and Piney Point Museum for their annual gathering. And it is for an alcohol consumption permit as well. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the permit as written.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd. We're free to sign that and approve it as you want.
Thank you.
And next item on the agenda is Recreation and Parks updates.
Yeah, thank you for saying it that way, because we're going to have some recreation side updates. You see Jessica Hale, the Recreation Division Manager, is with us tonight. She's going to talk about our spring program guide, what's going on there, summer camps, and what just happened in our new Easter egg hunt. And then I'll come right behind that with project updates, and then we'll go into the land preservation, park, and recreation plan. Jessica, you're on.
Okay. Well, good evening. What we have before you is our spring program guide. So looks a little different over the last year. Normally I would hand you this full 32-pager, but we have adapted and has actually gone quite well. So our program guide just got uploaded this week for the spring programs. It's available on our website and goes over the spring programs that we are offering. So as COVID restrictions change, we're able to offer certain programs with capacities, what have you. So really a good amount of programs being offered. So in consideration for what we're dealing with the COVID restrictions. So those registration classes are open now. Do that online. Some programs even begin as soon as next week. So we've got all sorts of aquatics programs. We're actually bringing back some of our dance classes, karate. A lot of things are being modified, so spacing is still taken in consideration, no contact type of classes, and fixing that so that we can still be in our spaces and offer those programs. We have a family kickball game coming up on April the 18th. It's a Sunday at Chancellor's Run. Very popular family event. Still plenty of space, so we are encouraging people to sign up for that fun afternoon. It's very laid back and just a good family atmosphere program, so hopefully people will want to come out and join us. And then, of course, what everybody has been waiting for, we have released the summer camp program information, and registration will open on Monday. So Monday, April 5th at 9 a.m., registration will be open for our summer fun specialty camps. So they're week-long camps. They have a theme for each of those weeks. And then we also have our sports camps that we're going to be offering. So what we do to really highlight those summer camp programs is our annual edition of what we call the Scoop. So that highlights everything that has to do with summer camps, and that's also available online right now. And what parents can use this document for is to really look at the details, what you need to know, the different COVID-19 protocol that we are following, all the guidelines, and staff did an incredible job last summer, and so we're building on that. We are expanding what we're offering this summer compared to last summer, and that's largely due to the some restrictions being modified. So we will be at Hollywood Recreation Center and Carver Recreation Center for 9 weeks. Some differences this year: we will not be doing field trips. The restrictions still make that quite difficult and just not financial financially makes sense to be able to transport children at this time. But lots of fun activities are still planned. So a lot of great themes are there in place. So check out all of those different options. We do have limited capacities. So take the weekend to look over all the information, see what the kids want to attend, and make sure that you're ready to register. It's only a $25 deposit per week that's required at the time of registration. So you don't have to pay everything up front. And also, we don't want people to forget about the scholarship fund. So anybody who needs financial assistance, we have a scholarship form to fill out, and we'll be able to review those and hopefully help a lot of families attend camp this summer. Sports
When is that registration?
starts on Monday. Yep, so we got that open.
Monday the 5th.
And then all the handbooks, the links to all the information, hopefully parents will find that very useful so they can make some good decisions about that. And then, of course, our sports camps. Still working on the format of half-day camps. All of them are going to be outdoors, and there's quite a wide variety there as well. So making sure that we check those out. So that's what we have on tap for our spring program guide and then our upcoming summer camps. And then, do you want me to go into Easter, or if anybody
yet.
has any questions? Okay,
Russian.
I'm blazing too fast.
No, you're doing good.
I just had a question about your scholarships. Do you guys allocate a certain amount of scholarships, and just how I could help spread that word?
Yep. So throughout the year, for all of our programs, there's a scholarship form available that you can fill out. And typically how we've done it in the past, it's on a case-by-case need, but we try to make it fair and equitable for everybody. And then a couple of years ago, what we started for summer camps, however, because we had been so successful with our annual golf tournament and our other events that contribute to our scholarship fund, we expanded it where you can request assistance up to all 9 weeks of summer camp.
That's great.
What we do under normal circumstances is there's a period of time where you submit that application prior to camp registration. Depending on how many request it, that's then how we allocate the funds, depending on how much is in the fund. So if we had 100 people asking for all 9 weeks, we might say, okay, well, we don't have enough in the fund, but we're going to be able to fund everybody 4 weeks. So that's just an example. But our scholarship fund is pretty healthy, so we're looking forward to being able to help a lot of families this summer. So it is based on the amount of people who inquire and request it, but hopefully we'll be able to help as many people as possible.
Because I guess as I work with our outreach as PTA president for my elementary school, so we have families obviously that this would really be amazing for. So how I could best say, opens Monday, fill it out, and should I tell them that if they can reserve the 25 so it
Yes.
holds their spot?
Do not hesitate, absolutely. Reserve your spot. If for some unusual reason, which I don't anticipate this year, all the funding wouldn't be available that they're requesting, we will give them back their deposits if they're not able to continue. But I don't foresee that being an issue this year.
We'll make it work.
Yeah.
Oh, I did ask you to hold up because a couple things. One, I wanted to say is when I heard about summer camp, we have summer camp right on this campus at Leonard Hall Recreation Center, and that made me then think that right now we're cooperating with the circuit court. I didn't know if you knew that. And circuit court jury trials. So when you have jury trials to bring in a lot, there's not the space at the circuit court to do that because of distancing. So beginning in April, when they come back, we cooperated throughout the winter and had one.
Yes, yep.
Because not every, remember, not all jury trials go to trial. And so then when they notify us on Friday if they're going to trial, then they'll come. And then Leonard Hall Recreation Center is large enough space. They bring in the security and you go through there, the people that do there and enter. And then the selections there, then once selected, then they're escorted to the courthouse. And so that's how we cooperate with the circuit court during this pandemic period. But yet, in talking with staff there, in particular Judge Stamm, who I really like working with, is how we're going to interact with our summer camp there. But we've worked all that out as well so that, the circuit court can continue business as they're opening up again, and then we'll see how it goes throughout the rest of the year, what distancing means to that. So we're glad we can help out right in here in Leonardtown to get that done. And the other one was, too, before we got to Easter Hunt, now there's just so much more. You got to put the museums in all of this as well. We just did a virtual Maryland Day last week on the 25th, and then what's going on there and what the parks have done. And I'm going to announce while I'm at it, Mr. Murphy knows too, that David Guire, the one on the board, retired last April, and yesterday Mr. Roy Copsey was selected as the new parks manager for the department, and we're excited about that and the work he's done for the past 16 years and the promotion there and the work he's doing now and all the projects in parks. And then we were talking earlier about the golf course and some of the things that are going on there, but tonight's not for that. It's to hear about this, because this was an idea here. Was it my idea?
Sure.
Oh, thank you.
If it wasn't, it is now.
I knew it was yours. Golden egg.
The blame is yours, not the idea.
Man, I should have started that. You go ahead, Jessica. You're back on. Thank you for all you do, too.
So typically, we have an Easter egg festival at the St. Mary's County Fairgrounds, anywhere of 3,000 to 3,500 people in attendance on that wonderful day where we have egg hunts and vendors and amusements and all sorts. And obviously last year that did not come to fruition right on the beginning of COVID. And as we were approaching this year, it was becoming pretty clear that that kind of event wasn't going to be possible. And none of us really wanted to go another year without some sort of Easter festival. And so staff started talking, and, we had eggs already because they were ready for last year. And we were trying to think of different ways we could do something. Logistically, that was a big hurdle, and we were watching what some of the other departments were talking about, and we came up with some ideas, but then I was hesitant because I was like, I don't want to draw people on purpose all at the same time at the same place. Anyhow, long story short, we morphed to what we ended up with yesterday. So we've had a surprise in place for a while. We've been planning, we've been preparing, getting ready for it, and we finally launched it on Tuesday. What we planned was a surprise pop-up Easter hunt, and we figured what better way to get people out and about, and we just got so lucky with the weather. We had to shift. We originally weren't going to do it on Tuesday, but we put a plan in place, and we did it early anyway because of the weather and with the rain that was planned for yesterday. And the Easter Bunny went out to 10 different parks, 4 different museum sites, and we hid 6,500 eggs throughout the county.
Come on.
And so we sort of secretly did it, but then, as the bunny was out in the park, saw other people, so we were trying to be discreet.
Can't hide a
But
big bunny.
Some of the bunny?
some of, the bunny did make an appearance virtually, but bunny's helpers were out and about, so. So we hid bags of eggs, and in that bag was a congratulations note, a QR code that would take you to the website. We also are doing some fun trivia and a hashtag that we sent out where if they found the eggs, to please post a picture with your eggs. And the response was better than we could have possibly imagined, quite honestly. Everybody was so excited. So once we got them hidden, we launched it on social media, and everything just took off from there. And it was amazing. I mean, people went to multiple parks. Kids were excited. We had 10 golden eggs. So at every park, there was 1 or 2 bags that included a golden egg. And inside that golden egg was directions for claiming a prize from one of our local business sponsors. So we had 10 golden egg sponsors. So local business really stepped up. And then, of course, we had 15 sponsors from the previous Easter festival that were committed, but we wanted to still recognize them because they contributed so much. And so far, we've had over 150 people participate in our trivia, our online trivia. You got to go do that. That's really cool. Some really neat trivia. Clues in there about Easter and the traditions of it. And we've had over 100 photos shared on the hashtag. So fantastic. And what it really showed was it was really a great advertisement for recreation and parks and all the places that you can visit and all the parks and museums and just how much fun everybody had. So it was cool for our team to do what we love to do, and it's been too long. So we had a great day, and we're so glad everybody had a great day. It was wonderful. So lots and lots of people participating, and we learned a lot from it, and we kind of want to do it again sometime. So
Yes, thank you. You connected the community. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just, it lit up.
yep,
So it was amazing.
yep.
That was a good idea after all.
I'm glad we were able to carry out your
I
mission.
did not say mine. It was. I mean, as a director, I was proud and pleased. So I was at Lancaster Park, and I always, when I go to the parks, I like to talk to one or two, somebody that are there and do come here often and hear from them. And there was a grandma, and she was with the one, and I saw that bag of eggs, and they said serendipitously, they just showed at the park, they didn't know, and there it was, they read, so the information was there, they were clued in, and they just thought that was so special. So I was glad to be a part of it, proud. What she said, the promotion of being in the parks, you can see from the pictures how it showcased our parks. And then to make those families just have enjoyment. Glad to be a part of it. Thank you. Thank the Recreation Division staff for that. So I have a couple of things to go through that you're well aware of, and so I'm going to be brief, but we have some graphics or pictures here. And that's, I want to show you, you can see that's the second Field 7 next to Field 8. We almost have 2 fields done at Lancaster Park, the field turf. That, the lights, I was there last night to see the lights turned on both of them. The other one's been going on since June, but the turf just arrived last week, and probably maybe at the end of this week, a week from tomorrow on the 9th, could possibly be completed there. And then we got a call today from soccer that the Maryland Cup, the games, they can't, in Montgomery County, they're still not open. So now they're looking to be down here on the weekend of April the 10th and the 17th, utilizing those 2 fields for big-time games. And that will create the notoriety and possibly then the future tournaments, because once you get here and know what the quality of fields that we have now, you'll return. And then plus what we'll have to offer here that's totally different from anywhere, well, a lot of different places. I shouldn't see anywhere else. So what you see on there, besides the turf, marks need to be done here on the field on the left on field number 7. You see the fencing still has to go up, the poster there inlaid into the concrete, and then you see the path there doesn't have the asphalt overlay. So the asphalt overlay and the fencing might not be done for that field on the 18th. They're going to play on the other field as well, but you don't need that. You don't need it to be fenced in and the asphalt there to play games on top of that excellent turf field there. And Chancellor's Run's about a week behind, and then Chaptico about 2 weeks behind. That their field's ready for the turf as well, so it starts coming in, and that crew moves from field to field and gets it done. So that's very exciting to have 2 fields at that site. Our next one, the next update would be, is at the Shannon Farm property? I mentioned to you last time, but since we talked, I've walked the property, and with the A. Morton Thomas design firm, we set the center line and the wetlands, and you can see those two. One of the wetlands is 1,040 feet. That's a pretty good-sized wetland, and that requires a bridge, boardwalk over that. And then you see the other 480 feet. I spent 4 hours on the property. I wasn't intended there, but once I began interested in the process and growing and learning myself, being in wetlands and doing the survey, and I stayed with them and assisted. So you find out, how do you find out where the wetlands are? You understand how to mark them and flag those. And then also in a trail through the woods like that, not only can the trail go straight through, but now it has to meander through the big trees. You just don't want to forest the large trees. So cost then varies. So then next week, the surveyors come in through that are the subs of A. Morton Thomas, and they'll survey what you see laid out here that's been marked out, put something like 56 stakes in the ground to get from that 0.9 miles from there to the shoreline, and they'll come back and do the surveying. And then last week we walked it again. A couple of the commissioners walked it. We didn't walk all the way through the wooded area. We turned around after a spec, went down to another potential entrance that the neighbors was challenging for the neighbors, and that's why we picked this. And then we went down to the villas and walked coming up the beach front. So they saw it from the beach, a challenging area, and from the concept there we talked about. So here we are. Surveyors will be in, so you'll get new cost proposals. MDE was also on site that day with us, the Maryland Department of Environment, one with streams and wetlands, and they considered this was a good locale of the center line. But they got to get back, do all their work, and we'll hear from them soon. So that's the update on Shannon Farm. So very exciting project.
So you walked that orange trail
I did.
down to the water. How do you get through the marsh now, the two green areas?
You walk it, and if you don't have rubber boots, you get your feet wet.
Okay, so it is passable now.
Yeah. There were some dense wooded areas. You know, toward the end was a dense area. We came up with a method. And then before you get to this first wetland, you can see the ATV tracks. And then once you realize why, then there was a stand in the woods. So that, that's going to always be a
You
challenge.
start hearing banjo music. Turn around, head back to your car. But being with the professionals, what was exciting for me, that knew their wetlands, knew how to find them out, staking it out, the trail, the terrain, very, very educational and exciting to be a part of that and walk the whole center line, and that's what that is, the first center line. And then I was with they have eight HOAs in there, homeowner associations. Okay.
And then they have the one over the umbrella HOA, and we've been in contact all this week, a couple times via email, making sure everybody's informed. And then also that service road that we were thinking about coming down, the surveyors might want to use that, and that's the first few hundred yards is the property of the HOA instead of the county. And so they've agreed to open that up so we can enter there. Possibly. So a lot of good things have happened since I saw you last regarding Shannon Farm moving forward. Then the next one's Snow Hill. Finally, I have a picture here. That's a concept. I met with staff there last week as well from A. Morton Thomas. They got the bid on that one as well. And so we were met there, and we did our first meeting and our notice to proceed. They know full well that a boat ramp on that site is a priority, and you can see this a concept plan drafted up by staff from Land Conservation and Waterway Improvement Fund that did that for us, and now that's been turned over to them. We signed a lease on the agricultural farming the commissioners did last week there. There's 29 acres that are farmed. We got $50 an acre for that, and I worked with the Maryland Extension Service, and the average farming is $52 an acre. But this isn't contiguous, plus some of the pH in there. Learn some more. Y'all can tell that, can't you? I learned some more, and so that we felt that was a fair price. And then on top of that, they were such an excellent family that farms it. They've never encroached on any activity, and plus they're in the park, and it saves us from having to bush hog. So it's a great partnership and relationship. So that's the whole idea there. Let's look down at that property. So if you look at that overhead, and you see right there at the end of the dirt road and the pavilion there and the houses. So think of the pavilion, a new pavilion shifted to the left. The one house stays there possibly for outdoor restrooms, running water restrooms, storage for camp over in a play area site, a larger pavilion, and then also maybe a bridal spot for weddings right there coming out there. Then if you move the big house so that your vistas, your views are better, because we found out in our determination of eligibility that has no historic value. And then what's going on now is archaeological study. That has to be very next, because you have to do that to determine where you can dig and where this parking lot and boat ramp can go. So, but think about concerts there with a concrete pad, concerts on the Patuxent, Hosta views, and then also farther to the left at the Roslyn Creek would be a canoe and kayak launch. And I think, and then some other passive recreation would be in this first phase of Snow Hill Park. Good enough? Update? Great spot. And we opened today.
Yes.
We put staff in Snow Hill, always have staff in Snow Hill. The other parks open today, but it was walk-ins only. So we'll leave there Snow Hill and then in Shannon Farms. And then the Lexington Manor Passive Park. I don't have any pictures for you. I could have, because I could have just shown you those. It's really blossoming, blooming, and looking good there. But the construction started.
I mean, a lot of concrete's been, the curbing's been pulled out in a lot of places. So the first thing they're trying to do is get the water off the property. They got to figure how that's going to move, how the water's going to go off the property. Then the curbing's coming out, then the roads will be cut, and we're moving. And then I was on the phone with the golf course today about the new tee pads that are going again in. We're having to move 8 holes, the baskets, 3 to a hole, so that's 24. Need an auger for that. The new holes have been in the woods. I've told you that. So this golf course is going to be one of the finer ones around when that's all said and done, to match what else is in that park. We've got the building permit, we've got the bids for the restroom, that's been done. So looking tentatively now, when I say tentatively, weather's always there, but we're looking maybe to have that project completed by July. Wow. And have some nice fall activity in there. I've looked at some swing benches because everybody now knows it's there. They're giving me their opinions. That's good. And then maybe some fitness equipment, street lights, and the commissioners were delighted with the funding is now at 1.4 for mill to get that done and completed. But what an addition to Lancaster, Passive Park, non-motorized wheels. And then lastly, the 3-notch trail, still moving forward, turning it down our monthly March report to Transportation Alternatives yesterday, and that's MDOT, Maryland Department of Transportation, and the funding sources to make sure we stay going. That's all for me, and none of those were my ideas. None, not one of them.
Do you think in the future, as we get closer to, unveiling a lot of the things at Snow Hill and Shannon Park, that we would ever think about putting lifeguards?
In my office, I still have that picture. I'm going to just go back and give you some history. That picture in 1975 when we cut the ribbon at Elms Beach and we had lifeguards. Mm-hmm. You can still see them there in the Recreation Parks T-shirts. We were going out. And we weren't there long before, because of the different type of activity and the complexity of the activity that we went with, swim at your own risk. I'm not saying that that's a great idea. It's asked a lot. But right now we manage all our waterfronts without them. And
Just something as I see, the county growing and obviously these becoming really the flagship parks of the county.
Oh, they are indeed. Because that's one of the things you'll see as we get to the land preservation, parks and recreation plan, what I'm going to show you tonight. That's one of the areas that we need to get more aggressive with, is get us to the design and engineering phase of Myrtle Point and Elms Beach. We need to get there and get some work done at those. And we're seeing through COVID that outdoor space has become very popular in health and wellness, and we're glad for that. So y'all ready, Mr. Chair, you ready to go to the LPP, PRP?
Yeah, we can do. I just had one question with the 6-foot rule.
Yeah.
Is that going to stay 6 feet, or is that going to go to 3 like the school? And how do you determine which one you're going to use?
Jessica, you handle that especially because you have 2 areas. We just have regular, we have recreational programming, but she also deals with state licensing. And remember, that's one that we have to cooperate with fully. So let's talk about state licensing and the 6 foot. What have you heard there?
So for state licensing, which doesn't always move in concert with what the schools do, is still 6 feet. And then you have licensing for what we call our school age care programs, and we are doing a full day program right now at Hollywood. And then summer camps, which is licensed by the Maryland Department of Health. We are still waiting on them to release what the regulations are going to be for summer. So until we know that, we're hopeful that it's 3, because then that increases our capacity and abilities. But right now we are still operating under the 6 foot. And so we follow the guidance of CDC, we follow the guidance of our local health department based on what kind of activities we're offering.
Since we're on that, can we interchange on the agenda the LPPRP and the COVID updates and just stay with COVID updates while we're here?
I was just curious because I know all those summer camps fill up quickly.
Yes.
And having to have them 6 feet apart and have space for them to be 6 feet apart, that really reduces the capacity.
Oh, it does.
Reduces it incredibly.
And I know those programs are highly sought after, and they fill up in the first month. They used to fill up in the first, week, 2 weeks worth of
We
registration.
might see day while these parents.
I'm thinking they're going to be popular this time around.
Yeah, we're prepared for Monday. We've got extra staff
So if
ready
that
for
could be
fun.
reduced to match the schools, that doubles your capacity.
Yeah, but we have to follow what the state license that we're under, what they say, and hopefully they'll come out with something in the next couple of weeks. And if that's the case, then we'll be able to open up more spots, and we're prepared for that.
So since we met last, this was sent to each of you, this flyer you're looking at here. So then this is basically, I certainly appreciate that question because one, we're informing the public as we answer, plus getting, what the Recreation and Parks Board, your thoughts on that. So Jessica, if you want to, you can go the overview on this too, because I see pool, carver, and gymnastics center, and the indoors, we're on that right now.
Yep.
Probably one of the best things to do, because everybody can read, is what have been some of the successes and challenges, especially at the pool and gymnastics center where you have workouts, you have pools, you have showers. So talk about those briefly for us.
Yeah, as far as COVID is concerned, none of us really knew what was going to happen. And when we opened the pool, we were pleasantly surprised at how well we actually were prepared, how compliant our customers, they were just so thrilled that something was open so that they could utilize the pool, engage in health and wellness activities, and have an outlet outside of just being on lockdown or in the house. And so the challenges obviously are the education piece. So we spent a lot of time educating our staff, making them feel comfortable, because it's not just about the people who are coming into our facilities, it's about our staff. They've been front line with the public since we opened the pool in June. Since we did summer camps. And so preparing them, making sure we have enough supplies in the beginning, getting the PPE supplies we were a little nervous about, but emergency management was wonderful, supported all the county functions. And honestly, I think COVID we spoiled people a little bit in a good way. Now they've got their own swim lane, and now they've got all kinds of individual attention at summer camp because there's not as many kids. So a lot of good came out of it. We actually felt very positive about all the experiences despite everything else that people were dealing with. But it also allowed us, we created new systems, and we're going to stick with it, COVID or not. The reservation system that we implemented at the pool has been wonderful. Very good response from the public on that, because now they know if they've got a spot reserved or not versus showing up to the pool and all the lap lanes are full. So that was a huge one, and it helps our staff prepare as well. It helps with notifications. In the wintertime when snow was coming, we could email direct people who had already been registered and let them know, hey, don't venture out, we're not going to be open today. Or, hey, here's an update, this is when we are going to open. Sherry Nelson, the program coordinator for our school age care and summer camps program, her and her team have done amazing. And parents cannot say enough of how we've handled opening an all-day program for their child to participate in virtual learning. We worked with our IT department to make sure that we had appropriate Wi-Fi connections so that you could have 23 kids on their laptops at the same time participating in school and distance learning. So I think that we've actually had a lot of successes through COVID. Obviously, the challenge is not being able to accommodate as many people. But I think that we are pleased that we were able to at least offer some of our programs during this time. And probably the greatest challenge, if I had to pick a challenge, was going through, it seems to have died down a little bit, but going through quarantining. So if staff had contact or a participant had contact, and then the contact tracing, as they were figuring out what that appropriate response was, we had just over 60 instances of people either having to be quarantined or people who were exposed to people who were positive. We had very few positive cases in our programs or our staff. It did occur, but not nearly the high percentage. So that was a challenge, because then you've got to figure out how to handle it from there. But I would say that would be the biggest.
Any questions for myself or Jessica?
There hasn't been any discussion about requiring immunizations for programs or anything like that?
Said that one?
I didn't-
Requiring immunizations for programs?
No?
I know some colleges are requiring them, and
Yeah, I
Just
got
to
you
know.
now, but no,
Okay.
no
Nothing for the
discussion.
staff either, for
Well,
the,
my understanding is until it's an FDA-approved vaccination, that entities are not able to make it mandatory.
well, I know there's been some reports of colleges and different people starting to do that, so I didn't know if that was something they were pushing towards.
Yeah, I think
No, we haven't had strong conversation with our health nurse about that.
All right.
since it's in its emergency distribution right now, like it's considered emergency, that might be why.
Oh, and speaking of guidelines, our waterfront parks are open to out-of-county residents again. Remember, we went all last year without that because, the capacity limits, but now in-county and out-of-county are joining together, and we're looking for a great summer at the waterfronts, for sure.
All right.
And I'm sure staff will like that too, because, having to sift through, there's no more sifting.
All right, well, thank you, Jessica. We appreciate that update, and it's good to see you again. Hope we get to see you at subsequent meetings and get all that information that you've been providing for quite some time.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, regarding that, because that all the division and division managers, especially now, really came through, because remember, our business, while our capacities went down, we stayed at work as far as involving ourselves with the public. And there was a lot to do that. I like the way Jessica said it, keeping staff safe, everyone safe, and then the users safe. And we went through a lot. But we had through IT, our Human Resources Department, the Health Department, and our county health nurses, we had a lot of help in getting it done. But I want Jessica to stay here too, because the Land Preservation and Recreation Parks Plan, she had some work to do in that too. Plus too, this also helps her as it's a guide for the whole department. It really is. You mind me getting started on that?
No, were you
my-
done with the COVID-19 update?
I believe I am.
So you're basically just following whatever guidelines are providing oversight to the particular program. If it's a county guideline, obviously
Yes.
you're finding COVID guidelines. If it's a school, you follow the 3 foot. If it's, depending on who it is, you have to follow those particular guidelines right now.
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
Bottom line. And then the other one, we opened up county parks, at the golf course.
Right.
It was, for the longest time, single cart riders. We're now two to a cart, except for 65 and over can have an exemption, and those with a documented condition. So we're back to, and that will help out staff and the cart inventory, but still cognizant of being safe. So let me just look at the document, the Land Preservation Parks and Recreation Plan. This document, and I'm going to read some of it for you. It provides current information, establishes goals, recommendations, and a plan for the department going forward every 5 years. And the every 5 years is this is a part of Maryland program open space through DNR, the development side for when we can develop parks and spend money there. It's in the annotated code of Maryland that you have to go through this every 5 years. And really, it's a great exercise for all of us. One, it gets community input, it gets the board's input, it establishes goals, it allows us to see, gives us our own internal report card. So here we go, we're going to be hiring a consultant this summer, and so the 5-year period will be over in 22. It was last adopted in August 2017. So we introduced it last month, and now what I want to do this month is get us to another stage so that we can start having some conversation in May at our May meeting, and then that way you'll be well-versed when the consultant comes, and then you'll feel strong about providing input. And then plus two, what it'll do is it'll put us a springboard into September, August, when it's time to develop or go into the next year FY23's CIP project. You'll be much better well-versed, see how it all matches and dovetails together with the plan. So what I did on this paper that I handed out to you, see, you have that there. It wasn't ready for prime time board docs. I don't know who did that, but goals 1, 2, 3, and 4 that you can find in the LPPRP on page 55, I got those singled out for you. So there they are. Those are the goals. Let's go to goal number 1. Expand the inventory of county-managed athletic fields and sport courts and enhance the condition of current fields and courts to improve the playability of field surfaces. And then what I did there is highlighted some of the things that have happened in the last 4 years, not 5, because this has only been in not quite 4 years that it's been adopted. So you see that I'm not going to read them all, but you're dealing with the turf fields, Bermuda fields, basketball courts renovation, pickleball courts. We establish, you'll see in the goals when you look at them deeper, some of the bullets in there are the league leaders. We now have league leader meetings twice a year, and then the abilities with email to inform
the sports complex, you know about that. We had the market and economic study, and then there's an indoor center being considered as a YMCA. So you put all that together, I think we did well in that area, because you'll look at the next goal too, you'll see a to-do on there. And here, with what was accomplished in the past year, as long as we don't go backwards and stay aggressive with that in our CIP, I think we'll be fine. Because generally, you don't, 6 Bermuda fields and 6 turf fields in a LPPRP cycle, that's pretty much unheard of. And then everything else that went there. So let's go to goal number 2. And so before we go to goal number 2, so again, you now can see that, and then when you go back looking at what you have online or in a hard copy, you can see the goals and what actually was completed. And then so, okay, but yeah, turf fields and baseball fields, but here's something else I think we really need and to make the county. I like the idea over here by Ms. Weatherly a minute ago about lifeguards. That's the kind of input we're looking for. And then does the board concur with that? And is that something, then staff, what is this support or the reporting back do to enhance the service delivery? So those are the types of questions as we move forward. Goal number 2, expand opportunities for water access and waterfront recreation. We opened Snow Hill in 2017, and we currently have 2 master plans going at the same time at waterfront areas. Funding's been allocated for construction in Elms Beach. We got to dive into that A&E, and you see under the to-do, under Goal 2, begin the design phase of the Myrtle Point and Elms Beach CIP projects. We got to get on that. We've enhanced the website. Jessica she's talented on the website. I don't know her about her egg hunt ideas, but she's talented on the website. And but she's very talented. And so even in-house, we've enhanced the way we communicate with our waterfront parks and public landings. So because we now know that people want to know on a Sunday evening, a Monday morning before the office opens, how do I get out? How do I get that information? And our websites have to be spot on, and we have enhanced that. And I need to thank Jessica for that. Goal 3, create a network of connected trails. Phase 3, 3-Notch Trail, talk about that. I was hearing from Mr. Parker earlier about biking, and we had that discussion earlier. But so how can we work with that biking and alternate transportation and wellness? And Lexington and Banner Passive Park, you see, is a big highlight there. It was highlighted in the plan, and that you see now, this summer, we'll have that completed. With trails that tie into Willows Road, internal trails, walking, and the do. But you see some things to do. We need to do better. I need to do better in an inventory map of existing trails, expand trail partnerships. I got an email this afternoon from Charles County about connecting with the 3-Notch Trail up there in Charlotte Hall. So all those bikeways, transportation plans, and they keep coming. The good news is they're on somebody's radar very strong. The not so good news is I need to get going on that. But we had a retirement of Miss Bailey 2 years ago, and then Miss Ellison. We've been without that position for some time, and we'll be interviewing for that position that will help with these projects, in particular the trail. We'll be holding interviews for that here within a week or 2. Goal 4, our last one. And then we could have some discussion today and answer questions. Remember, these goals are, again, to show you what we've done, find out where our strengths and weaknesses are, and then begin to come together as a board and to say what some of our priorities and goals are for next time. Continue to operate, maintain, and improve existing county parks, recreation facilities, museums, and open space in an efficient and cost-effective manner. Now, look here, replace 5 playgrounds in this period, renovated 7 park restrooms. We've renovated indoor restrooms at 4 recreation centers in the Great Mills Pool. We've installed bleachers at Carver, HVAC air conditioning at Margaret Brent, a new dome, LED lighting at the pool. Can I keep going and going? Wi-Fi at 5 parks and Hollywood Recreation Center. We've continued to invest in overlay in the parks and the trail. New exhibits, just very nice at the Piney Point Lighthouse Museum. And we're just about to get to the point where we're going to award the design for the St. Clements Island Museum project. And then the improvements, and Mr. Weaver over here could tell you, as he serves on the Recreation, the Wicomico Shores Advisory Board, the new improvements that have been there. So I think we've had some great successes in this term heading into next, but there's a lot to be done. And my goal is for the board is just to get engaged just a little bit more between now and May, and those pages 55, where it begins on our goals and some of the fine print, so as we can begin mapping a path forward. But use this as one of your reading tools, because it'll summarize for you. Put that with page 55, and then I can mail you the CIP, the current CIP, the recommended and what we're in, and then you can see what is currently allocated, and see that where we have to maybe maneuver and bend and be flexible and bring some other things to the table. And that would be about September is when we begin to go back to the commissioners of some of our out years and some of these next 2 years that are already in the plan. Any questions?
All we've done, I think goal 4 is going to be something we need to look at to maintain all those new fields and maintain everything. I think that's going to be a big goal next.
It is, and I would say if I was to, with park operations and parks maintenance, and because of what we've done here, and I believe I even was talking, I might have been Roy or somebody else in the staff, Tyrone even, that one of the goals is the staff patterns and the organization we have within staffing in parks. Because when you're now at those fields and counting on hourly employees in that management system, we have a good one. And I was at the hourly training a couple of weeks ago, but we're going to have to get real strong, because you see what's here. And it's a lot, but I think we're doing good. But to really do very, very well in regarding public safety and routine maintenance, we're going to have to see about that too. And if we look, let me say this, the last budget work session, we had a list there of all the full-time equivalents, full-time that were been to the different groups in the last 5 years, public schools and the sheriff included. Recreation and parks in the last 5 years is one of the ones that hasn't added a full-time employee to our trove. And I don't want to do it just for the sake of doing it. I even spoke to Jessica about that. Meaningful work's important. Getting priorities are important. So it'll only be done when I think we have a plan going forward, and I appreciate you bringing that up. But parks is a big part of our lives, and a huge part of it through what you see here in the LPPRP. Jessica's just added new staff all the way around. What, in the last couple of years, 3 coordinators with the retirements?
2. Am I missing somebody?
Derek, Marva,
So
Sherry.
we had 2 long-standing, I think combined 70 years of experience. Gary Reed retired in April, Kenny Southern retired in August, and then the county did go through a hiring freeze, and so we were able, once that was lifted, to fill those positions. So we were able to promote Ken Geyer, who was our front desk customer service guru. So we kept his wonderful knowledge and abilities in-house, and he is now taking the helm at the Great Mills Pool, Carver Rec Center, and the Gymnastics Center. And he's not busy at all. And we just welcomed, oh yes, Susan is a coordinator, yes. Susan took his spot, and she started 3 weeks ago, and she's a wonderful addition. We're thrilled to have her. She's going to be great with customer service. And then our other vacancy with the coordinator who's really going to take charge of leisure programs, health and wellness initiatives, as well as our community service, community standards program. We did a little reorganization in-house, which it was a perfect time to do. And then as well as some of our sports camps, she will start at the end of the month. Her name is Marva Kumpf, and she has been with us at the Gymnastics Center. So she is the program director down there. So quite a few promotions that we're very pleased with and ready to rock and roll once we get everything open.
All right.
All yours, Mr. Chair.
So Jessica, you said that the reservation system worked great for the pool and that sort of thing. Is there any thought to doing that for the water areas like Elm Beach or that sort of thing, so people can get a reservation to go down there, or at least indication on the website for how busy it is? Because I know that's a long drive to get down there and it's full. Then where do you go? And if there's no way for the public to know, and we have staff there, is there a way they could look at, oh, this is 3/4 full at 9 o'clock, or if you have a reservation, as long as you're there by, say, 10 o'clock, you can keep it. but it's just a way for people to be able to plan, because if you leave from Mechanicsville to go to Elms Beach, that's a long way to go and not have any idea whether you're even going to get in at that point. Just a thought.
I think you have a good thought. Myrtle Point and Snow Hill haven't really provided us that capacity. Elms has.
And they're going to. And when you put the boat ramp in there, that's probably going to fill up as well. So if people can have a reservation, as long as you're in there by like 9, you have a place to park. Because otherwise, you get down there with your boat, you have nowhere to park. Then you're off hunting around for somewhere else.
I think online reservation, no, it's better than I thought. Online reservations is a way to go, is a way of the future.
Right.
Even with that.
Especially if you know you can go down there with your boat, you're going to have a parking spot as long as you get there before a certain time or whatever guidelines you guys set. Then you'll have a place to park and you won't have to get turned around with your family and everybody and go look for another.
And one of the things too, you can set capacity online.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game too. You can set capacity right there. You can set it to 200 people for reserve, and once it's reserved, then everybody knows
Right.
I can't get in.
Right. Just a thought, because it'll help control that. And, people aren't as disappointed when you get down to the beach, it's full, and you travel down to Point Lookout, that's full. You go.
St. Mary's has been so busy.
Yeah.
The river.
Do I go to Myrtle Point at that point, or I just go home? You got the.
And then you can look that up on your
can
cell
look it
phone,
up,
and you can
yeah.
figure it out.
And one of the successful things with the pool, we don't charge when you reserve, we charge when you get there, because it's weather dependent.
Right.
When you have an outdoor pool, you could book it 4 days in advance, and then all of a sudden you've got thunderstorms and we're closed. And I think that people really do appreciate that, and once they get used to the system, they certainly appreciate that. And it provides us good tracking, and we know what to
Be done
expect.
via app on your phone.
Right, and then you can look on the app on your phone, see if it's full, or you
Green
know,
light or red light or yellow or.
whatever you guys come up with, just some way to reserve and be able to manage that online would probably be. And you could get statistics for how busy it is at different times too.
Sure.
It would help you long-term to know,
Yeah.
and you'd have some documentation for how busy it is.
Sounds like
So-
a summer internship.
So if you wind up needing more spaces at Shannon, or
Will
not
help
Shannon
with
Farm,
staffing.
Snow Hill, you'll know that this thing's been booked up since the day we opened it. Maybe we need to expand parking, or,
Like it.
something like that.
2 good ideas tonight, and neither one mine.
You can take credit for them.
Well, I'm gonna get this egg.
Lots of blame. So the soccer tournament that's coming, is that going to Lancaster Park?
Lancaster Park.
Okay.
And we just heard today, so, and it's nobody's fault. I mean, they're now looking for an alternate site. But it's going to be at Lancaster on Saturday, the 10th and 17th, and then on the new field potentially on the 18th.
Sure.
Be a busy day. That's opening day for
So with,
league.
And nothing on Chancellor's Run? They didn't want to use Chancellor's Run, the field's back there?
No, there's no way I can answer that. In other words, soccer, it might be that they have their own games there, and Lancaster was open, because again, just finding out today, so soccer might not. But, because Chancellor's is the more soccer complex, because it has a 7v7, but so these are all going to be regulation game fields. Chancellor's, I tell you what, with those new LEDs there we've never had, and that new set of lights on field 2, and the way that field's made with the walkway, Chancellor's is going to be very attractive. And then we put a 20-foot net there so balls can't be kicked into the parking lot. In 2 weeks, Chancellor's is going to be very attractive.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be busy, so.
so just
Back.
something to think about when you get crowds of that size, 70 teams or whatever. Have you thought about inviting like food trucks or anybody to serve those kind of things, since there's no like concessions on site, like maybe opening that up for people to register?
Oh, when we get in the tournament business, there'll be food trucks.
Okay. I didn't know if you guys invited them, or,
No, they'll be ready. So we're not in the tournament phase. We're not in the tournament phase yet, because really, what's going to happen that day? You're still going to only have 5-6 games. That's all on one field. You're not still. That's almost like regular season. They just happen to be out of town. The good news about them coming, though, is that they're
Visibility.
that's that notoriety that starts to get them come. But yeah, on that circle there in Lancaster is a good food truck area, and the first bid for the leagues though is they get to have the first at the concessions.
Sure.
For their revenue to enhance their sports, and then we go from there. But once we start, and they're even telling me now this when it's coming down, is that hotels are starting with that one too. So this is a big one to get here the first time. That's why we're willing to do what we have to do to get them here on the 10th and
Yeah,
17th.
I just don't want all those people get here and say that we got stuck at a field, there's nowhere to eat, there's nowhere to go, you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Then you get a bad reputation from the start.
No, we're gonna do good.
We can get a little
We're gonna
away
do
with
good.
Yeah.
Because when they regular season, because we've already had the travel teams down here, and they've well, they really have liked it so much. And the quality of field, our turf fields are top of the line turf fields. A lot of people that play on turf fields, they still haven't played on these that field turf that the county funded.
But once that word gets out, I'm pretty
It
sure
is.
they're going to get all
It
kinds of
is.
unaffiliated leagues, unaffiliated people wanting to come play, and but that's happening. You'll get the
Thank you for your
calls.
good thoughts. sir.
All right, well, that's all I had.
There.
Anybody else have
Those are
anything
good,
else?
great thoughts.
All right, well, that's it, Mr. Shepherd and Jessica. Once again, thanks, Jessica. We appreciate your input and yours
Yes.
too, Arthur, even
for
though you're
having me.
just promoting her ideas.
Appreciate it.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.